Have you ever looked up at the end of summer and thought, how is it already August? And more importantly, have you found yourself wondering if the things you hope to make time for this year are just getting pushed aside again? Welcome to Second Act Simplified. This podcast is for women in midlife who are looking for more purpose, more creativity, or simply more space for themselves in a season of life that already feels really full. Maybe you're balancing a career, family, responsibilities, aging parents, empty nest, and a calendar that just never slows down. You know that you're grateful for the life that you built, but you have this sense that there's something else waiting for you. That might be a new hobby, business, a creative project, a different path, or just a desire to reconnect with yourself that's been sitting on the back burner for way too long. We don't believe that you have to quit your job, reinvent your entire life, or have everything figured out before you begin. Small steps matter. Consistency matters. Curiosity matters. It's never too late to create a life that feels more aligned with who you are today. Today, we're talking about 7 questions to ask yourself before fall gets busy again. If you're like me, summer always seems to pass so much faster than I expected. Before your calendar's full, your routines start over, and we head towards the holiday, this is the perfect time to think about what you want for the rest of your year and what you want that to look like. Every year I tell myself, I'm going to get so much stuff done this summer. I'll spend the evenings outside more, and I am doing that a little bit. I'll finally tackle a few projects I've been thinking about. I'm going to have more time to read and figure out what's next. Felt great in May and early June, but we're already into July. There's vacations. You've probably had graduation parties, backyard dinners, and weekends that are just packed with things. Then August arrives and you're already like, hey, my vacation's buried in your camera roll. 4th of July feels like it was months ago. And fall decor is popping up all over the place. Then you're back to school routines, anything that's related to fall into the holiday sprint. Then you're at the end of the year. So for many working women, fall feels like the beginning of another marathon. Your work ramps up, your family schedules get busier, activities might return, the holiday planning begins, and all these personal goals that you had at the beginning of the year and then reset in the middle of the year are just out the window. Next, you're sitting in December wondering what on earth happened in the last 4 months. I think this time of the year matters so much. We don't need another color-coded planner or another self-improvement task. I think summer's really inviting us to be intentional before fall and life speed back up again. Meaningful changes rarely happen by accident. They happen when we stop long enough to ask ourselves better questions. Today, I want to share 7 questions I've been thinking about for myself, and maybe they'll help you decide what you want for the rest of your year. Question 1, what gave me energy this summer? When we think about summertime, many of us immediately focus on what did we accomplish? Did we get enough done? Did we finish the projects that we thought we'd get done when the weather was nicer? Are we being productive? But I think the more important question right now is what actually made me feel energized? Think about that. Think about the last few months. When did you feel most like yourself? Maybe it was when you sat outside with a cup of coffee or tea before anybody else got up. Maybe it was reading a book on vacation, just sitting at the pool or the beach. Perhaps it was gardening or kayaking. Maybe you got to do some traveling and that was just so exhilarating for you. Having an uninterrupted conversation with a friend or grilling something new, exploring a new hobby that you've been neglecting. Or maybe it was just having a little extra margin in your schedule. Those moments matter because they reveal something deeper. They tell us what nourishes you. When do you feel restored? What brings you back to your center? Many times, those things are simple. They're not these grand plans. It's easy to dismiss those moments because they don't seem productive. But they probably aren't really distractions from life. They're clues about what we need more of going forward. So ask yourself, what made me feel energized this summer? How can I intentionally create more room for that when I go into the fall? All right, question 2. What drained me more than it should have? That's a big question. It's the opposite of what we just talked about, but it's really important. What left you feeling depleted? What activities were just draining for you? What responsibilities are you carrying simply because you've always carried them? That's a tough one. Were there commitments you agreed to just because you felt obligated? Were there tasks you assumed nobody else could do? Did you say yes when you really wanted to say no, not right now? Many of us become incredibly skilled at carrying those things. We are the ones that carry the schedules, the planning, the coordination, family logistics, and work responsibilities, the household management. We carry all these expectations. A lot of times, nobody even explicitly placed them on us, but we've adopted them over time. Everybody counts on you to do these things. So before fall arrives, what could be simplified? What can be delegated? What could be postponed? And what can you let go of? Because you need to create space for what matters. Sometimes that means removing something that doesn't matter. Question 3, what have I been saying I want to do someday? I think almost every woman has a someday list. The side hustle she'd like to start, the small business idea that's been tucked away into a notebook or journal, the certificate she's been curious about and looked into, the hobby that she used to love, the project she talked about for years that hasn't started, the Etsy shop she wants to start. Maybe it's a photography class, a volunteer opportunity, or a big career shift. So those things don't appear on your calendar, but someday often turns into years, and the years pass so fast. So ask yourself, what have I been talking about for months or years that still matters to me? If the same idea keeps coming up, there's a reason. Sometimes those reoccurring thoughts aren't random. They're a sign towards growth. Maybe the idea deserves more attention than you've been giving it. Question 4, if I only had 2 hours a week for myself this fall, how would I spend that time? Oh, I love this. This is my favorite question because it's grounded in reality. Most working women aren't looking at empty calendars. They're looking at careers, possibly aging parents, spouses, kids, college students, grandkids, volunteer commitments, homes, errands. Dozens of things are competing for your priorities. But 2 hours? 2 hours feels possible. 2 hours a week adds up to more than 100 hours over the course of a year. That's enough time to learn something new. You could build a website, write consistently, exercise regularly, launch a small project, read several books, develop a skill, start creating content, explore an interest. What would you do with those 2 hours every week? Would you spend them building something for yourself? Would you spend them becoming someone you've wanted to become? Your answer often reveals what matters most right now, not someday, today. Question 5, what do I want more of by December? Imagine it's December 31st and you're reflecting back on the second half of the year, or maybe even the whole year. What would make you feel proud? I don't mean perfect, not some major transformation, just proud. Maybe you wanted some more confidence, creativity, or financial stability. You wanted to have more fun or be adventurous, develop some friendships, find peace, or have more experiences. More time spent on things that belong to you instead of anyone else. Maybe your goal has nothing to do with income, but feeling more connected to yourself again. This question shifts our focus away from tasks and towards outcomes. How do I want my life to feel? Because when we understand what we want more of, we can make decisions that support it. Question 6, what can I stop carrying into the next season? Great question. Sometimes growing isn't about adding anything. Sometimes it's about taking things away. And maybe it's time to stop carrying guilt or perfectionism or comparisons to other people or the unrealistic expectations that have been set on you. Maybe you just believe you need permission or endless confidence before you begin. But maybe you just need to release the idea that every project has to become profitable or that every moment has to be productive. Or maybe it's just simply deciding you don't have to do everything on your own. What am I ready to leave behind? Because making space for something new often means setting something old down first. All right, question 7. What is one small step I can take before Labor Day? This is just one step, one action, decision, or commitment. I like commitment. Maybe it's purchasing a domain name or opening a new savings account. Join a class, schedule a coffee meeting with someone, writing in a journal, recording your first video, researching a business idea, dusting off supplies from a hobby that you used to love and you no longer do anymore. Or just blocking 30 minutes on your calendar every Saturday morning to do something for you. These small moments create momentum, and momentum builds your confidence. Once you have confidence, you can create change. We think people transform their lives through these massive decisions, but most changes happen because someone took a small action and then another, and it compounded. Before fall arrives, the women that create meaningful changes in their lives aren't necessarily the women with the most time or the most money or even the most confidence. Women who pause long enough to ask better questions. They stop operating on autopilot. They decide, even in a busy season, that they still matter. Their interest in goals and curiosity all matters. The things they've been quietly dreaming about matters too. Before your schedule fills up before the holidays and another year slips by, give yourself permission to reflect. You don't need to answer everything today. You don't need a perfectly mapped out future. You just need enough clarity to take that next small step. Sometimes that's all it takes to begin. If you feel like you're pulling towards something new, I have a Second Act Pathfinder for women like you, busy women balancing careers, family, responsibility, and just a sense that you want something more. It's a free guide designed to help you gain clarity, explore new possibilities, and identify the next steps that make sense for this season of life. You don't have to figure out your entire future. You only have to decide what's next.